One's 4. I thought we were only at 3.
Yeah, I didn't update for
you're
one of
offline?
them. Holy crap. Yeah.
What just happened?
It got dark
boss.
all of a sudden. And I didn't pull my pants down, so.
Whoa!
Oh god.
Look what I walked in on.
Okay.
Full moon with Sertas.
That's right. Alright, Grace. Let's do it. Last week was 5 rants.
All right, we should have the Game of Thrones update now, sir.
Oh, Jesus flipping Christ. Really?
Let's get it
So
out of
you
the
might
way.
wanna
That way
mute-
you can,
yeah, you can
either
mute.
turn off your speakers or listen in. Your choice.
Alright, I'll turn off the speakers.
All right, they'll let you.
know in game when the Game of Thrones over.
Yeah.
Darth
Hold
Vader's
on.
Luke's father.
Hold on. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
I wish I could do that.
Yeah, I'm muted. Boo.
I am returning to town.
Yay!
Boy.
So, Sertas, we are very lucky right now. We have 2 females for this next topic.
Yeah.
We get dual female perspective.
It's going to be
on this
Jiggly-rific.
topic. It is. So, on this topic, the Buffalo Bills cheerleaders are suing the Bills. 4 of them are suing the Buffalo Bills because they were given demeaning things such as a jiggle test to see if they could be on the line for a game or not based on their physical condition. So, this whole story stems around about a week before game day, they had to perform things like jumping jacks, and a female coach, or employee, whatever they used at the time, would, on a checkboard, watch them and have different areas such as hips, thighs, arms, etc., and watch for bad jiggles. Okay, all you guys out there, we're not talking about the good jiggles. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
So they would watch for bad, and if they got 2 checkboxes, meaning they had to have 2 areas of improvement, then they would not be allowed on the line for the game in a week. They would have to improve. Now, throughout their employment and beforehand, they were told, you're expected to be in good physical condition. You're given a personal trainer or access to a personal trainer. You are given paid time to work out for fitness. And, this is the job. It's long hours. You're a cheerleader. That's the job. You don't get paid much, but you can use that to go to, a modeling career, things like that. My personal opinion, sit down and shut up, cheerleaders. No legs to stand on here. It's expected of you to maintain a top physical condition. You're a professional cheerleader.
Well, here's
what
the thing.
Did you expect?
How much are you going for in terms of top?
In terms of top? What do you mean?
Yeah, like, how much do you have to look like, or what is... Because this is an issue that one of my friends who's Korean is saying that it's turning into Korean society, that if you don't have plastic surgery at this point, you're not even going to get into modeling. Like,
None of them were expected to have plastic surgery.
I know. But, like, how plastic or how perfect in looks and condition are you going? This is like a matter of what looks good, and
Okay, I think they're expected to be in good physical condition and to have very low BMI.
Well, obviously,
and through that. But again, this stuff's spelled out beforehand. We're just talking about this subject at the moment. I don't think they're talking about any type of physical altercations like plastic surgery or such. And obviously, plenty of girls made the line. So I mean, that's what we have to go off of.
If they got the job, right?
These are people that were already cheerleaders.
Already had the job.
They already have the job, and so they were required to have these checks to see if they were maintaining what they needed to keep it for the job.
So they had to maintain what they had.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
that's like that's like any athlete,
right,
not being able. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And again, there are plenty of Buffalo Bills cheerleaders that did make the line each game and that were there. So it's not like they had super high standards that none of them could meet. Now, again, professional cheerleaders, those are the contracts. It's all spelled out beforehand.
Can I say that, please?
Lady Fedre, before
say
Sertas goes, let's get the female perspective.
I want to give my wife just said something, and I thought
go ahead.
fits. Mama Sertas just said they need to go sit down somewhere. She said another word in there, but she said they need to go sit down somewhere.
Go sit down and shut up.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, Lady Fedre, what do you think?
Well, I do agree that they're in a job that requires them to be in a top physical shape. Nobody wants to see a chubby cheerleader or chubby dancer, because they don't really do what cheerleaders nowadays do, which are those flying flips and spins and jumps that I find kind of amazing, actually.
And we all know how much those uniforms do show.
Hello.
Yes. But the way, I guess, the organization, the Buffalo Jills, went about it was very degrading. Like, there may have been a better way for them to monitor that they're staying in shape. And apparently a lot of the other things that they had to do, like the way that particular organization was run, the cheerleaders weren't actually employees; they were contractors. So they apparently didn't get paid for a lot of stuff that they were supposed to be getting paid for, and they were going to places where they were being demeaned. And I guess when your job is based on something physical and you're kind of a role model for a billion-dollar organization, or maybe not a role model, what's the word I'd be looking for?
Spokesperson.
Spokesperson or symbol.
Spokesperson.
Yeah.
That you'd expect to be treated with a bit more of respect, and that wasn't what they were getting from the Jill's organization. So yeah, I do agree that they should be, there's every right for them to be benched if they aren't fitting, that week's thing, because it's your job to look good and cheer on your team, and look the reputation of the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. I mean, girls growing up, I'm sure, Sertas, you could probably relate to this being down in Texas. Every little girl wants to be a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader at some point.
Well, enough of them do.
So, it's something that girls and women can aspire to, is something like that's supposed to be this dream come true for a dancer, athletic female, and then to get to an organization where it's not. A little disappointing, I guess.
Yeah, but all these things were spelled out in the contract beforehand, right? It wasn't a surprise to them that they were going to be independent contractors, right?
No.
It wasn't just, oh, here's the paper. Oh, surprise, you're an independent contractor.
I guess it was just how they were evaluated. Maybe then it's the demeaningness that went along with it. Not really sure. I'd have to read
I think we got some people that are trying to be opportunistic in this situation. You were expected to maintain a certain thing, and if you couldn't maintain it, I mean, let's be honest. How else would they be able to tell if you're going to look good dancing if you don't do some of the movements in the dancing?
Well, let's take it in separate parts here, because we got a few different types of things going on, and we got to get to Kai here now. Let's take it, the first part, let's take it of the physical aspect, the evaluation of it. Kai, they're cheerleaders. They're expected to look like this. They're judged via a quote-unquote jiggle test to see if the bad parts jiggle. Thoughts on that stuff?
If, without knowing, enough of the back history, if it's just complaining that they had to go out and perform some sort of thing that is going to possibly push their assets and show their assets in some way to the max of what would be considered appealing and eye candy that's applied towards being a cheerleader, then they should expect that. Now, if the question is that the way that it was done was not, I'm sure it's not written down in the contract that we're going to make you stand there and squeeze your boobs on screen or something like that.
Well,
not written in the contract.
Jiggle test, they are expected in their contract to keep up appearance. So it's what's called a model contract, where they have to fit the role of a model and they can be judged on it. The test was the jiggle test, where the person that's suing literally did an interview where they said they were made to do jumping jacks and be evaluated. They weren't made to squeeze their boobs together or things like that. It was jumping jacks, and they'd be evaluated on.
She said basically,
if all it is she's complaining because she had to take a test in a certain way that was, determined on whether or not they met the job, then it's an evaluation. Then I don't think she's got any ground to stand on. That's correct.
Okay.
I would be inclined to agree with that if that's all it is, because I'm not familiar enough with the case. If that's all it is we had to go and do jumping jacks or whatever, and we have to be evaluated. Well, that's what you should expect if you're in that field. You're in a field of entertainment.
All right, now
surprise.
Well, I know I'm going to get to you guys all in a minute. I want to get the ladies, because they're the female perspective, and this is a female case. For the next part, working long hours for not much pay. Having to go do contractual stuff. Nice split shade. Split shade.
I wonder what her definition of long hours for little pay is. Or whose definition that is.
Well, that would be this person's definition.
The
people suing them.
Yeah, I mean, are they making more than minimum wage?
Hell yeah, they making more than minimum wage.
Then,
They say they're wrongly classified as independent contractors and are subject to policies that violate the state's $8 per hour minimum wage laws and other workplace rules. They have to make 20 to 35 appearances, most of which are unpaid, at community and charity events each season. On top of that, they have to pay $650 for their uniforms and are not reimbursed for travel or other expenses.
Okay,
So
so
time
wait a
and
minute.
expense, as well as rules governing their personal lives, far exceeded what they signed on for, is what they say.
Okay, so hold on, Grace. Let me ask a
so
question.
this is a whole different thing than
Well,
a
this
jiggle
is-
chest.
So
This
okay,
is a different part of the lawsuit now,
Exactly.
okay?
so what they're saying is that So I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. You're saying that these ladies were presented with contracts telling them that you have to pay for your uniform, you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to pay for travel. Well, you're not going to be reimbursed for certain parts of your travel. You got to make all these appearances, blah blah blah. And we're going to pay you this amount of money. Is that what you're saying? Basically, to soup to nuts it.
Yes, that
Okay.
is exactly right.
So, one, those were not unpaid appearances. They told you were going to be making a certain amount of appearances as part of your contract. You got paid for those appearances. Might not be as much as you wanted, but guess what? You should have negotiated a better contract. The fact of the matter is, a lot of people that go to be cheerleaders and all that stuff, they're doing it because they hoping that it's going to lead to something else. It's like being an intern for a celebrity. Nobody goes to wants to work for or being an intern for a congressman or some other politician. Nobody wants to do that crap for the rest of their life. For the rest of their lives, they're doing it because they hope it will lead to something else.
And it is important to note that a lot of professional cheerleaders springboard that onto, high-end acting, celebrity gigs,
Fitness careers,
models,
what have you.
shoot
Exactly.
careers. Exactly.
Adult
So
entertainment.
something that's something that's a lot more profitable than just cheerleading. Yes, Wolves, that is one of them.
So my thing is, and I'm not trying to be mean, I'm just saying you knew what you were stepping into before you step into it. And now because some of those things maybe haven't come to fruition, now you want to sue the Buffalo Bills and say, well, we didn't, we didn't get what we thought we was going to get. Or it was demeaning. You knew you were stepping into, some of these outfits they got these girls wearing are demeaning. So we're going to talk about demeaning.
Let's hit a part of that in just a second, and we're going to go to Lady Fedre then. The civil action right now seeks unspecified back pay and legal fees, so they're not even putting a number on it, which means make me an offer and we'll see if we go away or not. In legal terms, it really does. Anytime you see one of the lawsuits where they say we seek unspecified back pay and fees, that's them trying to see if they can go ahead with the lawsuit. But on this one, this next part that I want Lady Fedre's opinion on, the complaint describes demeaning and degrading treatment, including being required to wear bikinis at various events, such as an annual golf tournament at which cheerleaders were auctioned off like prizes. Auction a cheerleader, get a cheerleader for a date, and the money goes to this charity.
2 of them.
So, what do you think of that portion, Lady Fedre? Now, again, part of your contract. This is a appearance. Something that you're required to attend.
Well, again, like, if it's for something you're required, it's for charity. You're a cheerleader, you're going to be wearing something skimpy. I imagine that stuff's all fine, but I'm sure when you get a bunch of drunk, rich guys at a golf tournament, things get a little demeaning.
Now, and that is the part that I agree with, because they're saying they were That being said, that I agree with that part of the lawsuit, I don't think the Buffalo Bills are responsible for, the actions of a fan, quote unquote fan, coming up and touching their butt.
But they're
they
at
should be suing them.
But actually, the Buffalo Bills should be held responsible for that.
Right, because it's a required appearance
Yeah.
for their cheerleaders.
I agree.
Right. And in that
They
case,
should be
sure.
having things in place to keep their cheerleaders safe from grumpy, gropey old men.
Okay,
this is
you
a
want
question
me
I
over?
like. I want to know how long did any of these young ladies stay cheerleaders? Okay, because
Not long.
if they stay cheerleaders if you went to an event and this happened at the first event and then you quit and sued, okay, I'm you know what, I'm all for it. Maybe they didn't tell you everything that was in your contract, yada yada yada, or maybe you didn't understand or whatever, and it's demeaning, etc., etc., etc. But if you stayed a Buffalo Bills cheerleader for more than a year, you know what, you knew what was going to happen. And you stayed there
But
anyway.
Wouldn't she still be under her contract? If she leaves, it would be termination of contract.
But they only do those contracts for those cheerleaders 1 year at a time.
It would not be termination of contract if they had a sexual harassment abuse, because that is a clause in any type of contract.
Yeah.
That's a general clause. You
Right.
could go to a judge and go, I'm being sexually harassed or degraded, and they throw the contract out.
Right. But what I'm saying is most of these, I've seen, some of these shows, they talk about these cheerleader tryouts or whatever, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Most of these, the people in these shows or whatnot, they're cheerleaders for a year. They have to try out every year. Even, women that's been there cheerleaders. At least I saw a show on the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, and for the most part, you have to try out every year. Even people that you get to a certain level, then you don't have to try out anymore. But for the most part, you trying out every year.
So, Split Shade here agrees with you guys, and I tend to swing more to your opinion, that the Buffalo Bills did put them into the position of the golf tournament of ending up, being touched, degraded. Anyone who has their ass smacked, no matter what they're clothed in, it's not right. So,
Right.
By not giving them protection for that is just wrong, and they should be held accountable. So, Split Shades on your guys' side. I think you swung me over on that. I think that part of the lawsuit sticks up.
But if they go back to next year,
other cheerleaders teams have had security for the events they're at and aren't treated that way, are actually treated rather well. It seems to be this Buffalo Jills, who I think also that the whole organization is disbanded now, and they're not going to have cheerleaders this coming season, I believe. So there might have been a little fishy things going on there.
There could have been too. Never know.
If they went back if any of these people in a lawsuit went back the next year, okay, you knew what was going to happen, and you went back anyway. So again, you kind of brought it on yourself.
As long as it happened in that first year, though. If it didn't happen in the first year,
You're right. If it didn't happen in the first year, okay. If it didn't, part of this is I don't know the whole, their whole stories.
Well, and they haven't released all of it either, unfortunately.
So part of this is if you were a cheerleader for longer than a year, some of this stuff you knew was going to happen. You knew you were going to be on TV wearing skimpy clothes. One. You knew to fit in those skimpy clothes, you had to maintain a certain type of shape. If you didn't know this, you're a flipping moron. Nobody's going to hire cheerleaders and say, okay, you know what, gain 50 pounds, it's cool. You can still go out there and shake that tail. Nobody's going to do that. Okay, you knew that you would expect it to maintain a certain physique. That part of the lawsuit has no weight.
I think the issue is you're focusing only on this quote-unquote jiggle test, and it sounds like there's a lot more to the lawsuit.
Well, the jiggle, yes, but the jiggle test wasn't just jumping jacks. That jiggle test was what the lady said on the jiggle test. She said they had to do jumping jacks, they had to face forward, they had to face to the side, they had to face to the back, and there was a female coach that evaluated them. She had a clipboard, and she would evaluate them, and then she would send them an email and say, hey, you got if you got 2 check marks in any one area, then you need to improve in that area. If you got 3 check marks, then you couldn't go out that week. Okay?
Yeah.
Which I think it's when you're out to do a physical job like that, it's fair that they should be able to evaluate you to make sure that you fit what they're trying to represent. You're representing the Buffalo Bills. So if you don't fit what they want you to fit, you knew from beginning that you were going to have to fit a certain thing.
And real quick, we're taking this story in parts, Kai. One because one of the cheerleaders did appear on national TV, and all they wanted to talk about was the jiggle test. So we got to take the whole thing kind of in parts, because there's like 4 parts to the lawsuit. So we can't judge every single part all at the same time and come up with a yes or no. We have to go, okay, is the jiggle test thing, is that valid? No. Is the demeaning thing and being groped thing valid? Yes.
Absolutely,
so,
yes.
You know, we just got to go in parts here. On the fact of them not being paid properly, what they're alleging is they work, hundreds of hours, but altogether over those hundreds of hours, they were only paid, I'm making up a number completely here, $40,000, which, when you split it all out, means that they got paid less than $8 an hour. I'm sorry to say, welcome to the real world. If you negotiate a year-long contract for $100,000, but you are required to work 16 hours a day, that's the contract. Doesn't matter if you end up getting paid $8 less, or less than $8 an hour. That's the contract.
Now, the only thing that I would step in and say that I would disagree with, that I would be on their side for, is if it wasn't spelled out explicitly what they were or were not going to do. If they weren't told that you were going to be working this amount of hours, and you're going to, because, I mean, let's keep this real. It ain't the Buffalo Bills is a brand new cheerleading outfit, and this is the first set of cheerleaders that have ever worn a Buffalo Bills uniform, cheerleading uniform. Okay? So if they tell you, hey, you're going to work this many hours, this is how much you're going to get paid, you're a new cheerleader, so this is how much you're paid, this is what you got to pay for your, for your food while you're out of town, you got to pay for your uniform, yada, yada, yada. If you knew all these things going into it,
yeah,
it's on you.
That's a given, but they don't describe whether or not that was in the contract. Just that they had contracts. So
then there's no way to judge that part without knowing if it was explicitly told to them what they were or were not going to be doing. So I think
that's something that'll either come out or not. So I think we've kind of beat this topic to death. Anyone have any end comments here? Kai, LP, Wolves, AMD?
I don't know.
Nope.
I mean, I agree.
It'll be
with
interesting
the whole...
to see how it all gets resolved. Like what ends up being the real focus of the lawsuit. Oh.
I agree with the whole demeaning thing. with the events.
That it is.
And if they were actually what I want to say, if they were groped. No, what I want to say, if they were auctioned off, there should have been a set of rules or contracts signed. This is a date, certain things, you will be accompanied by X bodyguard, and nothing will happen afterwards. It's just, dinner. Because some of these people might, think it
if
might
it's
be
a
something
date,
more.
even they may just auction them off to, have a drink with at the event, that kind of thing.
I got a problem with people in general being auctioned off for any damn thing. Maybe
Quiet you! I'll make you go back to picking cotton.
Oh no.
What's up? Sorry, Wolves. Go ahead.
Yeah,
want a big guy.
That's about it. I meant the whole jiggle test thing. I meant you're gonna have some women get on their super high degrading sexual horse, saying, "Oh, it's so wrong." Blah, blah, blah. If they're really gonna have that much of a problem, have a freaking medical professional do a BMI on them and just get your results that way.
Yeah, but then they'll say, "Well, it's the meaning to judge me on my BMI only."
Well, here's my problem. They became a professional cheerleader. Who in their right mind, any person in the right mind, I don't care who you are, thinks that you become a cheerleader and you are not eye candy or an object for men to stare at?
Yeah. Well,
if you believe that that's not the case,
you're a flippin' idiot.
You must have a very low IQ. Anybody can do that. And the fact that feminists, like really high feminists, can go and defend the cheerleaders on the quote-unquote jiggle test is just outrageous to me, because they're in an objectification of women career. What do you expect?
You go on a career like that, but then you don't expect to be objectified?
I can't. Go ahead, Will.
Next, they'll be, going after strippers. Oh, they're being objectified and judged.
Well, they've gone after strippers for a long time, though.
So have you, Grates.
Help me.
We remember how you got through college, Grates.
That's what the East Side's for.
Grates is a pole master, let me tell you.
Anyhow, we've beat that one. Lady Federated, did you have closing remarks?
No, just to see, it'll be interesting to see how the lawsuit turns out a year or so from now when it finally gets through court and everything. Is it going to be based on all this physical stuff, or are they going to actually look at poor work condition, poor wages, degradation, blah, blah, blah? So...
We upped that rant meter, right, Sertas? After you stop running away here.
I think I did.
For this one?
What does it say,
Okay.
5? Yeah,
It does say 5.
Yeah, we're at 5.
Okay. Let's see. Here's another fun rant
Star
for you
Wars.
guys. An American judge claims jurisdiction over data stored in other countries. What they mean is, if the company is hosted at all in the U.S., they have the right to obtain data for that company no matter where it's hosted.
I don't think that's what it means, Grace. I think the judge means if you are a U.S.
People might be
based
storing
company.
their financial records overseas.
I think it means that if you're a U.S. based company and you happen to have your data in a data center in, say, Greece, then the U.S. government don't have a right to get the data that's in Greece.
No.
Yeah, that's the way I
U.S.
read it.
Magistrate Judge James Francis in New York said internet service providers such as Microsoft Core or Google cannot refuse to turn over customer information and emails stored in other countries when issued a valid search warrant from the U.S. law enforcement.
Right.
What this means is if the U.S. law enforcement decides, oh, hey, we want to investigate this person in this country, Google has to turn over the emails.
No.
Even if they're stored in another country. Yes.
It's not a person. If Microsoft is a U.S. based company, so if Microsoft has their data stored somewhere else, and the government code goes to Microsoft and say, okay, we're investigating you. You have to turn over. We're investigating you for antitrust. You must turn over all your data. Well, all our data is in data centers in Greece. Well, tough. You're a U.S. based company. You got to turn it over. It's irrelevant where you have the data because you did that to avoid prosecution, to avoid us getting any information. So yeah, if it's a U.S. based company, absolutely. If it's CCP, for instance, the people behind I forgot the name again, Eve Online, then no, because they're not a U.S. based company. If you're a U.S. based company and you put your data in another country, that data should be able to be subpoenaed by U.S. courts because they're trying to prosecute you for crimes that you committed in the United States. That's like somebody taking their money. That's like somebody taking their money. They do a lot of their business in the U.S., but then they take all their money and put it in the Cayman Islands because the Cayman Islands says, well, you can't come and get this money. And you can't seize this money.
But there's the thing, Sertas. The Cayman Islands does say that unless the U.S. government or whoever's doing it cooperates with the Cayman Islands and the Cayman Islands government puts a hold on it. The U.S. government can't go over there and put a hold on the money.
You're right, but the U.S. government has a way.
The government. Yeah, because there was an issue with a lot of people who were working overseas. They were having Swiss banks, Cayman Island banks, Middle Eastern banks, and they weren't paying taxes at all in their home countries. So after that, the U.S. government, this was big in the 90s, the U.S. government is able, and other countries as well in the world are able to track down whichever company that you work for. They'll try, and then they'll find out where your checks go to, and they will get your tax document from whichever bank you go to. Doesn't matter where in the world.
And they can do that, but they have to freeze your assets or to retrieve exact data on those accounts. They have to work with that particular bank or foreign country. In this, they could say, AMD, you're living over in London. Well, Google's based here. You're using a Gmail account. We have suspicion that you're committing fraud. We're going to subpoena all of your email account records and data stored on the Google server, even though you live over in London.
But I don't think that's for individuals. I think this is a corporation deal.
No, this one was not. This is specifically for the search warrant in question was approved by Judge Francis in December and sought information associated with an email account for a Microsoft customer, including the customer's name, contents of all emails received and sent by the account, online session times, durations, and any credit card numbers or bank accounts used for payment. It is a specific customer in this instance, which is what this case is all about.
Okay, is the customer based in the United States?
I don't have that information.
That's the kicker. If the customer is in, let's say the customer's in Finland, have never come out of Finland, is a Finland, is a what you call it?
But that's the issue. That's the issue with this is it opens the door for that, Sertas. Because they're saying the person's location doesn't matter, where the data is stored doesn't matter. It's whether or not the company is based in the U.S. We can do a search warrant.
It should only pertain to that company's information. Their customers know.
Right.
This pertains to
the United States doesn't have jurisdiction to prosecute foreign citizens.
I agree, but in this case, this is what the judge says: is the companies are forced to turn over information as long as the company is based in the U.S.
But we're still not saying whether or not this is a foreign or U.S. citizen.
See, that's the kicker here. If it's a foreign citizen, the U.S. has no jurisdiction over that citizen anyway, so this is a moot point. If it's a U.S. citizen who's working abroad and they're committing crimes in the U.S., then yeah, it doesn't matter if their email account is in Finland. If they're committing crimes in the United States, then yeah, the United States should be able to prosecute them.
Except, again, in this, it doesn't matter whether or not we're not talking about the location of the person on this ruling.
Character.
We're only talking about location of company. This ruling allows them to subpoena records for anyone. As long as the company is hosted in the US.
They have to have a reason to want to prosecute that person. The United States cannot prosecute foreign citizens. Okay,
So
that's
let's say
one.
Now,
Unless they do a crime against the United States or in the United States, the United States jurisdiction ends.
I agree with that. But that's not my issue.
If it's a
My
U.S.
issue is the fact that
citizen,
they're able to pull data of anyone in the world just because they choose to and obtain a subpoena, which we all know, by the way, how wonderful easy that is to obtain.
But the underlying issue has to be that this individual or this company did something or broke a law in the United States or did something against the United States for the United States to even try to prosecute. There has to be an underlying condition. Otherwise, you can't. Nobody's going to say, "Oh, you can just go and grab stuff just because you want to." That's retarded. There's got to be some kind of underlying, condition.
The target account is hosted on a server in Dublin.
Yeah, because that means that the person did something against the United States or in the United States.
Well, see, the thing is, you also got to take in consideration the laws of that country. Are they just going to let you seize data that's hosted within their borders?
It's Microsoft. It doesn't matter.
If so, it's a Microsoft customer that did something that broke a U.S. law. Otherwise,
it's stored on a Microsoft server in Dublin, Ireland.
Right.
Yeah, the reason why it doesn't. Okay, so in this scenario, yes, Sertas, if we don't know where the person is because these records are still under seal. It's just the judgment that isn't. If the person, we'll say, is in the U.S. right now, their account's over in Dublin, the laws of that country, they're saying, doesn't apply, Wolves, because it's all Microsoft's data. It's a private company's data. The government really has no say about keeping that information private because they signed a thing. And the U.S. is saying, you're going to give us the data or you're going to be held in contempt of court and we'll fine you X amount of dollars until you give the data.
Can I interject for a second?
Go for it.
Say Microsoft, though, creates a company in Dublin, Ireland that's not them, and they sell their data to that said company in Dublin, Ireland, and that's their servers who own it. So technically it's not Microsoft servers anymore.
True, but now Microsoft is under the obligation to produce the data because they're being sued and told to produce it. And
But they sold it. It's not their data anymore. It doesn't belong to them. It belongs
But
to this
it's
other
being accessed by Microsoft's account, so Microsoft still falls under the responsibility of being able to provide it.
Not if it's not their data.
But a Microsoft account is being used to access it. So,
So you're talking about a Microsoft account could be a Hotmail account.
Or a live account nowadays, yeah. So,
right. So if it's a live account, and then that individual had to have done something against the United States. That's the only way United States has jurisdiction to even ask for it.
Otherwise, not talking about that anymore. Moved on to a different topic slightly. We're talking about if, in Lady Fedray's scenario, Microsoft sold the company to the data to another company, but then they wouldn't be able to subpoena it in the first place, because if they're subpoenaing Microsoft and going, hey, this is your account, you own this account, give us the data. If the account can still be accessed by Microsoft logins, that means Microsoft is under the burden to produce that information.
Only if the person that they want to get the information about has done something illegal in the United States. Otherwise, they can't do it.
Here's the problem with that, Sertas. This ruling doesn't differentiate that. They say as long as a subpoena can be obtained, then the
But in order, what I'm saying, Grace, in order to get a subpoena, you have to prove that that person did something illegal.
The NSA would disagree with you.
Well, the NSA is a special case of jackasses that don't count.
It's true.
I fully agree with that.
They're a special case of clowns that don't count, and what they did was highly illegal.
The problem with this, Sertas, is it opens the door a crack, and then the U.S. government and various other things can build off of it.
I agree, but what we're talking about today is what. Hey, the only way I maintain the only way that the United States could say, hey, I want this person's data, they have to have a reason. You can't just go and get a subpoena on somebody all willy-nilly. There's got to be a reason.
If it is a U.S. person, and they're
if it's a U.S. person,
I would agree with you. I would agree with you for probably about 90% of the time that if it was a U.S. person and they had a valid subpoena to obtain the data, yes, they should be turning it over. But I have a different issue of companies in general turning over data on people to begin with.
Well, and in that I agree with you.
But yeah, if they have a valid search warrant, as long as it's a good one, I would agree. For the most part, I would agree. Yes, you should be turning over the data because that's what the search warrants are there for. They should be used and should be approved for that. But I'm afraid of what the slippery slope can be because it can be used to build on other things. My wonderful big example of this is the U.S. Postal Government.
U.S. Postal Government? What government is that?
U.S. Postal Service. Sorry.
Oh, okay. That government. All right.
U.S. Postal Service. There's a rule in place that if you don't pick up your mail for 3 months, so if you don't have an arrangement with the U.S. Postal Service and your mail sits there for 3 months without being picked up, it is fair game. Thrown out, considered trash.
Yep.
Which means the police can come in without a warrant and pick it up and read it. Okay?
Yep.
No problem at all. Now they're taking it to email servers. But the way they judge you're sitting there and using it and picked up is whether or not that email has been read by you, one, so even if it's read by you, they're still counting it. It's whether or not when you received it. So you receive an email today, Sertas. 3 months from now, the U.S. government goes, oh, we want to read it. Provide us with the info. Here's our subpoena. Perfectly legal for any email.
That's not legal because
yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
I'm gonna tell you. Well, it shouldn't be because if that's an active email, what matters is the activity on the email account. If it's an active, if it's an email account I'm using is active, because in the example you gave, if you have mail that goes to a mailbox, okay,
yes,
and it sits around for 3 months and you haven't touched it, then it's fair game. So if you are actively using your mailbox, i.e. your email account on a regular basis, then it doesn't matter if that email box has email for 15 years. As long as you still using it, it's a valid email account.
And guess what? The U.S. government courts has disagreed with you completely, 100%.
Well,
because
they're bastard code of bastards with bastard filling.
Well, I
that's
fully
why.
agree with you. But that's the kind of thing I'm worried about. Sorry, Wolves, give me 1 second. I'll get off my soapbox and let you have full control. That's my issue, though, is they have used rulings like this to build certain types of cases for their way. I fully agree with you. That's how it should be, because email gets stored for. I got emails going back 5-6 years, no problem.
Oh, but I got 50,000 emails in my what's his face account that I just don't have time to go read, but I actively use my email account every day.
Exactly.
So that should be because in the example that's the determining factor. So
Yes,
I mean, if that's the case,
agree,
all they gotta do is wait 3 months and they can read any email.
But exactly, that's what it is. But the laws have not caught up, and that's what the U.S. government is going off of.
No, great. To be honest with you, I'm gonna tell you something. This is an issue of common damn sense. It is, to me, it's common damn sense. If somebody's using something actively every day, once a week, hell, if they check it once a month, that's the same as them checking their mailbox once a month. And if you can't go into a mailbox that's only checked once a month, you damn sure shouldn't be able to get email out of in the email box, even if it's checked once a month. It's some slick lawyers,
Yeah, this is lawyers we're talking about here. It's common sense not involved.
And I'm
going to let Wolves have it now, though.
And it's basically just like saying, oh, you should have to copy every single piece of mail you've ever had. It irritates me because you have the right to destroy your own mail, but Google can keep your email for the next 90 years. There's no way to personally make sure that, oh, this email is gone. It's always there. Oh, and you haven't looked at it. Even if you delete it, it's still there in some aspect. But you can destroy your own personal mail. Burn it, whatever you want. You can't get rid of your email. It's always there.
Well, part of the reason why that stuff is because we as consumers, we don't fight. It's just that simple. We don't get up and go and fight because
then
part
again,
of the reason
we don't really get a say either.
No,
we don't. It's hard. You got to lobby these stupid things,
and that's what I'm saying.
Suck.
Then if we would, okay, here's the thing. Let's say you're a politician and you go and you agree to one of these things, and then your constituents, the next time you go to run to be a politician, bury you. That lets you know that what you did, you probably shouldn't do that again. If people
stop, not in office anymore, then But now you're not in office, so you can't do anything about it.
No, I get that, but then if people start voting, voting with their money, okay, our political system is basically a money-based system. If people stop giving these guys money, they'll get the hint.
Okay, go ahead, Wolves. I'm gonna let Wolves have the floor. We've overruled them a lot.
All I'm saying is, if you want politicians to start doing what they're saying, not re-elect them, all I'm going to say is Obama and Guantanamo Bay. Oh, we're going to shut down Guantanamo Bay. It's still there.
That's so true. I say that every time.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, that's one of his biggest promises he's broken. He promised to shut it down within the first year. We're it's almost 7 years into his administration.
But you do have to remember, at the same time, it's also that it's not the president's not a dictator. Congress also has to approve it as well.
He made a promise he couldn't keep, and people fell for it.
Well,
we fall for it every year.
To the administration before, who promised us no secret evidence, and then they were able to hold people without any evidence at all. I mean, every politician makes promises and breaks them.
It's politicians in general, but come on. Some people are actually shocked by it still. It's kind of like...
No, it's
the war on terrorism, basically, the war on terrorism is an excuse to, hold people without evidence sometimes.
It's a farce. You can't have a war against a concept, first off.
That's what they've done.
You can and you can't, but let's not get into that one. That's a fire cake we're not going to touch right now.
Well, you brought it up because you brought up Obama.
No, Wolves brought that one up, not me.
Well, somebody brought up Obama, and I like to say, Affordable Care Act my ass. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
We could have a whole 3-hour podcast and everything Obama's done wrong. So let's not touch that.
We could have it for just about any president besides Lincoln.
Pretty much.
Lincoln's pretty awesome. He's got an awesome hat.
Lincoln was not as awesome as people give him credit for.
But Lincoln had
Let's
swag. He had swag.
let's move on here. Okay, so
Paragon level 3,
Sertas
baby.
for a comment on this because he said he has a very basic comment. We'll get really bogged down if we apparently I found something funny. We'll get
Star
really
Wars?
bogged down if we let you all go.
Alright.
The LA Clippers owner is Sertas.
Oh Jesus!
The owner,
Primus.
his remarks to his girlfriend, Oldie Sertas.
Okay. First off, anybody that takes this serious is a bloomin' onion idiot, and I got some Disneyland to sell you. Now why?
we're at
Now
Sunrise.
you gonna ask me why I say that? One, he's dating a woman that's black and Mexican. Clearly, he don't have a problem with black people, or he wouldn't be dating her. Okay, if he's that racist, he wouldn't be dating a black woman. He wouldn't be dating a Mexican woman. It's simple. Number two, sometimes people do stuff to sensationalize whatever they got going on. He's a creep. He's an idiot. You know what? In this country, he got a right to be a creep and idiot. He even got a right to say, "I'm a creep and an idiot, and I hate all of you." Okay, he has the right
We
to
know
say it,
someone like that.
huh? Well, he's not an
Someone like that
idiot.
who hates us all.
Yeah, but he's not an idiot. I'll give him that
But he is
much.
a creep.
And he hates us all.
Yeah. But he hates us all equally, you see.
Right, he hates us all equally, so that's okay.
Some of us equally more than others.
He's like the Boondocks. He hates us all equally, or South Park. So it's okay. But this guy here, they talking about calling for his head. Oh, he should lose. He should not be owner of a NBA team. Why not? He paid his money for that team.
He
So
owns
because
the
he
team,
because
you
he,
can't just take
because he made a comment you didn't like, he should lose his money. You gonna reimburse him?
That's his.
No. This is just Sertas.
Right. Oh, I mean, but these are questions. You gonna are we gonna reimburse them? The bottom line, and this is another situation that goes along with what I said before. If you really want to hurt this guy, you could try to take the team all you want to. Oh wow, he loses money and he don't have to manage the Clippers anymore. Big flipping deal. He's still gonna make money, as long as he wants. You want to hurt him? Make him keep the Clippers and then don't go to the damn games. That'll hurt him worse.
So we're gonna probably carry over a few topics this week. Sir Astro, welcome to the fun tonight.
I couldn't resist hopping in this time.
I don't know.
Which topic are you liking, Sir Astro?
I think the proper answer to that question is yes.
I thought the
They're all,
answer
they're all
was
good
C.
ones tonight.
I put C for multiple choice. I hope that's right.
C for multiple choice. Isn't the normal
I thought it
answer
was
B?
always D. All of the
Yeah.
above.
No, they're not going to give it to you on the first. They're not going to give it to you on the second either. They want you to read through them. So they're not going to make it D either. It's not going to be the first and last. And out B and C, they want you to read more.
Gotcha.
Wolves? What were you saying, Wolves?
I don't know. He owns the team. You can't take away something that somebody owns.
Sure you can.
But he owns a franchise.
And here's how they're going to
Franchises
do
can
it.
be taken by the corporate office.
Here's how they're going to do it. One, there's an owners association for the NBA teams. So overall, they can overrule him and toss him out as an owner for the good of the NBA Owners Association.
Oh, I see. I thought it was like...
Two, the free market's going to destroy him because you've already had tons of sponsors pulling out. We're not talking small ones. We're talking, Nike, etc. Big name sponsors pulling out as of earlier today, like 4 or 5 when I was coming home from work. Big name ones pulling out of that association. So what they're going to do is they're going to pull out enough and basically say, get him out or we don't come back. And that's going to be the free market ending up deciding his fate, which,
Interesting.
his kind of thing is going to
and that's the way it should be. That's really the only thing that matters in this situation is you hurt his pocketbook. Otherwise, who cares?
Now here's my other thing. This was a setup. Listen to the audio for those of you that haven't. If you've just heard, comments about this, go and listen to his audio. It's a complete setup. Listen to how the girl's talking. She's almost reading off a script or memorized lines because she eggs him on over and over and over and over again, and the constant phrase is, "I'm sorry you don't like my friends. I'm sorry that you're filled with such hate." Oh my God, seriously.
So why she said? And the thing is, I bet you she's still his girlfriend. How much you want to bet? How much you want to bet on that she's still his girlfriend?
On the other side of this, she's going to come out with a few $1 million figures from whoever set her up for this. Another thing is, they still don't know exactly where the recording, how it was recorded, which means she planted something and knew it was there all along while this was being recorded, which, give me a break. And another comment, he sounds like he's freaking high or was drugged when he did this. And
or just old.
Things that, and some of the things that he says, now I know he's a little bit older. Hey, Spin. I know he's a little bit older, so some of these views are to be expected of 70-ish-year-olds. So it's unfortunate to say that about our older generations of societies. I'm sorry, I'm creeping up there too. But, you know, come on. Give him a freaking break. Leave him alone.
I don't care. He could be the biggest racist on the planet. It doesn't affect me at all. At this point in my life, nothing he does affects me. I don't care. He could be, like I said, he could be the biggest racist on the damn planet.
And he's not making policies nowadays either, so it's kind of like,
opinion.
Go away.
It's not like he's Hitler, and he's not going to kill anybody or do anything.
Tell him to go suck an egg and move on.
Yeah. And I think the free market will handle him like it should be. If you're going to be an owner, you better watch what you say. My only caveat to that is if this was drugged or intentionally done, it's, in my opinion, it's done with malicious intents, and not a thing should be paid attention to it, because guess what? You egged it out of him, and people say a lot of crazy things when they're mad, and not all of them are true.
I want to say
I'm with Sertas here. This guy obviously doesn't have a problem with blacks and Mexicans in general, because he's dating one, and God knows we all know what that means when you have a 70-year-old dating a 20/30-something-year-old. Come on.
I want to say one more. I want to say one more thing, Grace, for this.
Right?
I want to say one more thing for this.
Last one.
All right. If you are, how do I say this?
How do you say this?
This is a guy who's like you said, Grace. He's dating, or like I said, he's dating an African American woman. You know, she's African American and Hispanic or Mexican or whatever the correct term is. I apologize. I don't know it. I don't care about it. Here's the thing. Oh, this is what I want to say. The reason why these things have power is because we as a people keep giving it power. We have made, let's make a big frenzy out of the fact what this guy said and done. Okay, that's why it has power, because we give it power. If we stop making a big deal of it, people will stop making, a big deal of it. There's nothing people can do. So the N-word and all the other stuff that go along with that, I don't care. If you want to say it, go right on ahead, because it's hypocritical for quite a few people, including myself, because I've uttered the N-word once or twice before in my life. Okay, if you say it, just make sure you say it in company that you trust. It's just that simple. Would it be better not to say it at all? Sure, but people gonna say it. You hear it in rap albums. We can't sit here as a people and be pissed off because somebody said the N-word. When you sit up there and then turn on DMX and hear him say the N-word all day. Or you hear Nas say it, or you hear Busta Rhymes.
I like Sertas because he's just an Uncle Tom.
That's what I am. You hear all these people say these things, but then we turn around and we get mad for what?
So, Sarastro, when you heard about the mail system being applied to internet email and the trashing, what do you think of that one?
Well, I'm kind of a right to privacy advocate, so I was not particularly happy about this one.
Now, that is from 3 or 4 years ago at least that I found out about that, and it's always peed me off.
Right.
But yeah, with email being stored more and more and more and more, yeah, they're able to get it anything past 90 days, fair game.
That's just a load.
And I'll be honest, I don't do a whole lot of business via email that isn't that I would care about being exposed to the light of day. I mean, I just don't. My email communication, if it were perfectly open to the world, I wouldn't care. But it's the principle of the thing.
Exactly. I don't have much email exposed, that I would care about either being exposed, but still doesn't mean I want everyone
those naked pictures of you, greats, huh?
Well, except for that, okay? But you weren't supposed to say anything.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I think I should leave it so those guys would go blind, right?
Wow.
It's not so much that I would like to hide those from the world. It's that the world would like to keep them hidden. They don't want to see it.
Yeah. But Serastro, give us a quick 30-second preview, and then we're going to turn the stream over to you.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I've got a show coming, don't I?
Unless you want us to go on with more topics here, we're more than happy to run a few more topics, I think.
Well, today we're going to be running some Smite Conquest again, and by request of the community, we are running the solo lane. So we've been kind of going through the meta. We've looked at the support lane, we've looked at the ADC role, we've gone mid lane, and now today we are going solo. Now I do have this one thing I will say about it. Solo is my weakest role on the board. I'm terrible. Today, I will probably live up to my name.
Well, that's why we call it Serastro's Bad At, right?
That's right. Tonight, I will probably
I thought it
live
meant
up
some
to that.
badass.
He is badass too, but on that note, so
Yes.
this is also kind of a league update stream here. So
Okay.
for those of you that haven't watched it, stick your fingers in for 5 seconds. The LCS tournament champion standings. TSM fell flat on their face, lost 3-0, and our current rank is Cloud9.
Now, let's look and think about what happened. And has everyone heard the news about TSM today?
Well, and that's the other quick thing. We're going to only lead like a 5-second thing here. TSM's X Special, their support, right, AMD?
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, their support was benched, and AMD, you gave us, or Lady Fedre gave us the news. How much do you know about it, Lady Fedre? Do you want to let AMD take it?
He can take it. I just skimmed it briefly.
Yeah, well, the reason he was benched because he himself admitted that he's a very passive-aggressive player, and he was not having a positive effect on the team in games. Like, if anything started going sour, he would keep singling out things and keep being passive-aggressive, and that really led the team to having some really bad calls. Like we saw at one of the games at Baron, half the team's fighting Baron, 4 of them are fighting Baron, X Special's off 1v5ing the entire team, so then it's 4v5, and they got aced, they got aced, enemy team took Baron, and they didn't kill anyone. It was a horrible engage.
And there's a tweet out, which I don't know how accurate it is, AMD, that Lady Fedra includes, because you know how much Twitter people like to play jokes.